If you're a caregiver, it can be one of the most rewarding things you'll ever do. But let's be real, it can also be incredibly tough, filled with these moments of tension and just misunderstanding. So today, we're going to talk about how to navigate those really difficult conversations and actually find a connection right in the middle of all that conflict. Let's dive in.
Oof. Have you ever heard these words, or something that feels a lot like them? This one phrase just cuts right to the absolute heart of the caregiving struggle, doesn't it? It's really a cry for dignity from someone you love, and it can leave you feeling hurt, so frustrated, and like nobody understands you.
So first things first, let's just get this out on the table. If you are dealing with these kinds of tensions, you are not failing. Not at all. Disagreements about decisions, about routines, about the future, they are a totally natural, unavoidable part of this whole journey. The real key isn't trying to avoid conflict, because you can't. It's learning how to move through it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with a story that really shows what this conflict looks like. Then we'll dig into why it happens, we'll look at some guiding principles, walk through 10 super practical tips, and then, finally, we're going to completely reframe how we look at conflict itself.
To really get this, let's start with a story that might sound, well, really familiar. It's about a guy named David and his father.
So David had always admired his dad, who was this fiercely independent guy. But then his father's health started to slip, and David knew, he had to step in. But his simple offers to help, they just got brushed off. And when he tried to do something as simple as organizing medications, his dad accused him of trying to take over. And that's when he heard it. Stop treating me like a child. And right here, this is the light bulb moment. David suddenly got it. This wasn't really about him or about the help he was offering. His father was grieving. He was fighting the loss of who he'd always been. And that shift in perspective, wow, it changed everything for David. It's such a powerful lesson for all of us.
Okay, so David's story really shows us the what, but we've got to understand the why. Why do these conflicts pop up so often? Well, it usually comes down to two very different but totally valid points of view. And here it is. This is the fundamental disconnect. As caregivers, our brains are wired to focus on the practical stuff, right? Safety, health, managing appointments, the logistics. But for the person we're caring for, their focus is completely different. They're fighting to hold on to their independence, their dignity, the life they've always known. It's not that one is right and one is wrong. It's just that these two valid priorities are crashing into each other.
And let's be totally honest, the conflict isn't just with them. So much of it is happening right inside of us. It's that awful feeling of guilt that maybe you're not doing enough, or that quick flash of resentment because it's all so demanding. It's that deep sadness that comes with seeing your relationship change. Just admitting that this internal conflict is real is a huge first step.
So with all these emotions flying around, how do we find solid ground? Well, there's some timeless wisdom that can really help anchor our approach and completely transform our conversations.
This piece of wisdom is it's so profound but so simple. Think about it. In a conflict, what's our first instinct? We're just waiting for our turn to talk, right? To make our point. But this flips that script completely. The single most powerful thing you can do is just listen first. Really hear the fear or the frustration behind the words.
And that brings us to this crucial point. We have to shift our goal. In caregiving, an argument is not a battle to be won. It's an opportunity to understand what the other person is truly feeling and what they're truly afraid of. I promise you, when understanding becomes the goal, the entire dynamic it changes.
This leads us to the power of our own response. It is so easy to meet frustration with more frustration, but a calm, gentle answer has this incredible power to de-escalate a tense moment and create space for a real conversation. Your tone can either be fuel on the fire, or it can be the water that puts it out.
Okay, so we've got the foundation. Now let's build on it with some really practical tools you can start using like today.
We've got 10 specific tips for you. We're going to go through them in 2 sets of 5. Think of these as your go-to strategies for turning down the heat and turning up the connection.
All right, let's hit the first 5. Number 1, just accept that conflict is normal. Seriously, it's not a sign you're failing, it's just part of the deal. 2, look for the emotion that's hiding behind the anger. It's usually fear or sadness. 3, like we've been saying, truly listen before you even think about speaking. 4, timing is everything. Don't have big talks when everyone's already tired or stressed. And 5, you gotta pick your battles. Focus on what really truly matters for safety and well-being.
Okay, moving on to number 6.
Use respectful language, and we're going to dig into that one in just a second. 7. Acknowledge your own feelings. It is okay to feel frustrated or sad. 8. Try to schedule regular check-ins so little issues don't explode into big ones. 9. Do not be afraid to ask for help when you need it, from a counselor, a friend, anyone. And finally, number 10, never, ever forget that the relationship is way more important than winning any single argument.
I really want to pause on tip number 6, because the words we choose are so critical. Just feel the difference between these two. You shouldn't be doing that. That's an accusation, right? It immediately puts someone on the defensive. But I'm worried about your safety. That's an expression of care. It's an I statement that opens the door for a conversation instead of slamming it shut. It's a total game changer.
So, as we start to bring this all together, I want to offer one final, really powerful shift in how we think about this. What if conflict isn't something we have to fear, but something else entirely?
This right here is the ultimate goal. When we can approach these disagreements with patience, when we listen to understand, when we speak with gentleness, conflict stops being this destructive thing. It actually becomes a tool for connection, a way to understand each other's fears and hopes and needs on a much, much deeper level.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. In your own life and in your own relationships, how can you start to see these difficult moments not as battles to be won, but as bridges to a stronger, more compassionate connection?